Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that's going to shift the way you look at connection between a man and a woman. The title might sound playful, but what I'm about to share with you is deeper than surface level. When we talk about places every man wants you to touch, we're not just talking about physical touch. See, men are simple, but they're also layered. They want to be understood. They want to be respected. And most of all, they want to be loved in a way that speaks directly to their spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real clear today. When we talk about places every man wants you to touch, the very first place before the heart, before the soul, before anything else is his mind. Now, most people hear that and they get surprised because we live in a world that makes men out to be all physical, all about what they can see or what they can get. But I'm here to tell you, if you can't touch a man's mind, if you can't connect with how he thinks, then you'll never reach the best part of him. See, a man's mind is his command center. It's where he carries his worries, his responsibilities, his fears, and his plans for the future. Every man wakes up with a load on his shoulders. How am I going to take care of my family? How am I going to pay these bills? How am I going to meet these expectations the world puts on me? His mind is full every day. And in the middle of all that, what he secretly longs for is somebody who knows how to reach in there and bring him peace, bring him encouragement, bring him inspiration. That's a touch more powerful than anything else you can give him. When a man meets a woman who can challenge him in the right way, who can spark his imagination, who can talk to him about ideas instead of just problems, he feels alive. Men don't say it out loud, but they crave someone who believes in their vision and can also sharpen it. A man will run from somebody who constantly fills his mind with negativity, but he will run toward the woman who can help him dream bigger. You don't even know how powerful it is when a woman says, "Baby, I know you can do this. I believe in your idea. I trust your leadership." That's like giving fuel to an engine. It keeps him going when life tries to drain him. Now let me break this down even further. Touching a man's mind doesn't mean controlling his thoughts. It doesn't mean you tell him what to do. It means you bring peace where there's chaos. You bring clarity where there's confusion. You bring laughter where there's stress. You bring perspective where there's doubt. You ever notice how a man can walk into his house after the hardest day, but one good conversation with the right woman changes everything? That's because she touched his mind. She reminded him that he's more than his problems. She reminded him that he's still capable, still worthy, still strong. That kind of touch stays with him longer than any kiss, longer than any embrace. Men also want a woman who can engage them intellectually. Listen to me, a pretty face might get his attention, but a sharp mind will keep it. A woman who can talk about the world, who can discuss goals, who can exchange thoughts with confidence, that's unforgettable. Because what that says to him is, I can grow with her. Every man wants to feel like his partner is helping him elevate, not pulling him back down. When you can touch his mind, you're showing him that you see his potential and you're willing to invest in it. But here's the part most people miss. Touching a man's mind also means knowing when to bring silence. See, sometimes a man doesn't need more noise. Sometimes he doesn't need advice, doesn't need correction. He just needs space to think and a safe place where those thoughts won't be judged. If you can respect that, and then when the moment is right, speak words that guide him gently. You've earned his trust on a deeper level. And once you earn a man's trust in his mind, you've got access to everything else about him. This is why I tell women all the time, be careful what you deposit in a man's mind. If all you put there is doubt, criticism, and negativity, he's going to associate you with stress. But if you put wisdom, support, and belief, he's going to associate you with strength and peace. Every man craves that kind of touch because the world doesn't give it to him. The world gives him pressure, but you give him perspective. The world gives him demands, but you give him direction. The world gives him criticism, but you give him comfort. That's what it means to touch his mind. And men, let me say this to you too. Don't go looking for a woman to touch your mind if you're not willing to open it. You can't shut down, refuse to communicate, hide all your struggles, and then expect somebody to read your mind. It doesn't work that way. If you want her to touch your thoughts, you've got to be willing to share them. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's access. It gives the right person the chance to help you carry the load you've been shouldering by yourself. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember this, the mind is the starting point. If you can't touch a man's mind, then the heart and the soul will remain locked. But if you can get inside his thinking, if you can show him that your presence makes him sharper, calmer, and stronger, then you've touched him in a way no one else can. And that kind of connection, once it's made, is almost impossible to break. Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you that the second place every man wants you to touch is his heart, I'm not just talking about romance or sweet gestures. I'm talking about something that goes deeper than flowers, dinners, or text messages. I'm talking about the center of who he is, the place where his love, his loyalty, and his very sense of being reside. You can touch a man's body and you can even touch his mind. But until you touch his heart, you haven't truly reached him. See, here's the truth. Men walk around wearing an invisible armor every single day. They fight battles you may never see. They push through doubts, pressures, disappointments, and failures. They're told by society that they can't cry, they can't be vulnerable, they can't show weakness. So they build a shell around their heart and they act like nothing gets to them. But deep down, every man craves that one person who can bypass the armor, slip past the toughness, and hold his heart in her hands without judgment. That's not easy to find, but when he finds it, he never forgets it. Touching a man's heart doesn't mean giving him everything he asks for. It doesn't mean spoiling him or letting him do whatever he pleases. No, it means showing him love that is steady, love that is loyal, love that is unconditional. It's being there for him, not only when he's winning, but when he's struggling, when he doubts himself, when he falls short. You see, anybody can stand beside a man when he's shining, but the one who touches his heart is the one who stays when the lights go dim. Let me put it another way. Men remember appreciation. They might act like they don't need it, but I promise you, when a man feels genuinely appreciated, it touches his heart in ways words can't describe. When you notice his efforts, when you say, I see how hard you're working, and I thank you, you're not just speaking to his ears. You're speaking straight to his heart, because inside every man is that little boy who still wants to know, am I enough? Do my efforts matter? And when you answer that with affirmation, you're giving him a gift greater than anything money can buy. Touching his heart also means knowing how to love him in his language. Some men need words. Some men need affection. Some men need respect. Some men need loyalty. The key is paying attention. A woman who studies her man, who observes what lights him up, who understands how he feels loved, that's a woman who has access to his heart. And once you're there, you become irreplaceable, because men, just like women, crave someone who really sees them, not just their job title, not just their income, not just their status, but the man underneath all that. And let me tell you something else. Respect is love to a man. You want to touch his heart. Respect him in front of others. Speak well of him when he's not around. Honor his effort even if he hasn't reached his full potential yet. That kind of respect is oxygen to a man's heart. It gives him the courage to keep going. It builds him up instead of tearing him down. Too many men are walking around with broken hearts, not because they never loved, but because the person closest to them didn't understand how fragile their heart really was. Now I know somebody's thinking, but Steve, men don't always show their hearts. And you're right. They don't. Men have mastered the art of hiding feelings. They act like nothing bothers them, like they don't care, like they're unshakable. But I'm telling you, just because he doesn't show it doesn't mean he doesn't feel it. Every harsh word hits his heart. Every betrayal cuts him deeper than he'll admit. Every moment of true kindness touches him stronger than he can explain. He might not cry in front of you, but his heart remembers everything you did to either build him or break him. So, when you choose to love a man from the heart, you're giving him something rare. You're saying, I'm not here just for the ride. I'm here for the man you are inside. That kind of love inspires loyalty. That kind of love creates commitment. That kind of love makes a man want to protect you, provide for you, and give back to you in ways you never imagined. Because when a man's heart has been touched in the right way, he doesn't want to let it go. He will fight for it. He will protect it. He will guard it, because it's not just affection to him. It's home. So ladies, never underestimate the power of touching a man's heart. You may think he only cares about success or appearance, but underneath all that, he longs for someone who can love him genuinely, encourage him sincerely, and stand beside him faithfully. That's what makes his heart beat stronger. That's what makes him open up. That's what makes him yours in a way no one else can claim. Ladies and gentlemen, if you really want to know the deepest place a man wants to be touched, you've got to go beyond his body, beyond his mind, and even beyond his heart. You've got to reach into his soul. And when I say soul, I'm not talking about something casual or temporary. I'm talking about the core of who he is, the part of him that carries his purpose, his dreams, his fears, and his faith. You see, every man walking this earth has a soul-level hunger. He may not say it. He may not even fully understand it himself, but it's there. And when a woman is able to connect with that, it changes everything. See, the soul is where a man's vision lies. It's where his deepest calling and his sense of meaning sit. The world tells men they've got to chase money, status, and achievements, but what his soul really craves is purpose. That's why a man can have all the cars, all the houses, all the clothes, and still feel empty. Because material things can't feed the soul. What feeds a man's soul is belief, encouragement, and alignment with something greater than himself. And when the right person touches his soul, she becomes part of that greater picture. Touching a man's soul means seeing the man he's trying to become, not just the man he is right now. Everybody can judge a man based on where he stands today, but it takes vision to see where he's headed and to support that journey. When you speak life into his dreams, when you tell him, I know you can be more, I see what you're capable of, you're fueling his soul. You're giving him confidence to walk in his destiny. And men never forget the woman who spoke to their soul when they were doubting themselves. That kind of connection sticks. Now, don't get it twisted. Touching his soul doesn't mean you do the work for him. It doesn't mean you carry his dreams on your back. No, it means you stand with him. You encourage him. You remind him of his own strength when he feels weak. You might not understand his whole vision, but when you believe in him enough to say, baby, I'm with you, that lights a fire inside his soul that can't be put out. Men fight harder, work longer, and dream bigger when their soul has been touched with that kind of faith. There's also a spiritual side to this. A man's soul longs for connection not just with his goals, but with his God. When you can pray with a man, when you can remind him of faith, when you can anchor him in something higher, you're giving his soul strength that money or success can't provide. Because when the storms of life hit, and they will, what keeps a man standing is not just his mind or his heart, but the strength of his soul and a partner who can touch that, who can bring peace and faith into those moments, becomes a source of light in his darkest hour. Another way to touch a man's soul is through inspiration. Every man wants to feel like the person he's with inspires him to rise higher, not with pressure, but with presence. When he looks at you and says, man, she makes me want to be better. She makes me want to do more. She makes me want to live right. That's a soul level impact. Because now you're not just his partner. You're his motivation. You've become tied into his legacy. And let me tell you something important. When you touch a man's soul, you've gone past temporary attraction. You've reached a place that no one else can replace. Looks fade, money comes and goes, but the impact on the soul, that's eternal. That's why some men can walk away from almost anything, but they can't walk away from the woman who reached into their soul. It's because she didn't just touch the surface, she touched the eternal part of who he is. Now, here's the part that makes this powerful. When a man's soul is touched, he doesn't just keep it to himself, he gives back. He pours out love, commitment, and protection in a way that's unshakable. He sees you as part of his destiny, not just part of his day. He includes you in his vision. He shares his dreams with you, and he fights to keep you by his side. Because you're not just someone he loves. You've become part of who he is. But I'll be real with you. Not everybody gets access to a man's soul. That place is reserved. He doesn't hand that out to just anybody. You've got to earn that trust. You've got to show consistency, patience, and genuine care. And when you finally get there, you've got to handle it with care. Because when you touch his soul, you hold the deepest, most vulnerable part of him. That's not something to play with. That's not something to take lightly. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember this. Touching the soul is about purpose, faith, vision, and legacy. It's about speaking to the man inside the man. It's about reaching the eternal part of him that longs to be believed in, supported, and loved beyond condition. And when you do that, you're not just building a relationship, you're building something that lasts a lifetime and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something I've learned after years of watching, listening, and living. Love only works when it's mutual. Respect only lasts when it's given both ways. A relationship only stands strong when both people are willing to show up and pour into each other. See, one of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that love is about receiving, about what the other person can give, about how they can be made happy. But the truth is, love is not one-sided. If you want something real, something lasting, it has to be an equal exchange. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100. Both people bringing their full selves to the table. Men want their minds touched, their hearts touched, and their souls touched. But here's the truth. They also want to know they don't have to carry it all alone. They want to know that as much as they give, it's going to be given back. They want a partner, not a passenger. They want someone who walks beside them, not someone who just waits at the finish line for the prize. When a man feels like he's not in it alone, when he knows his woman is matching his energy, his commitment, his sacrifice, that touches him deeper than anything else. Now, here's where people get it twisted. Giving back doesn't mean you have to mirror every move he makes. It doesn't mean if he buys you a car, you buy him one back. It doesn't mean if he works 10 hours, you've got to work 10 hours too. No, it means balance. It means understanding that love is a team sport. If he's out there fighting battles in the world, he needs to come home and feel like he's got a teammate by his side. If he's carrying the weight of providing, then maybe you're carrying the weight of encouragement. If he's putting in effort to keep the relationship alive, you're matching that energy by doing your part to keep it thriving. It's not about what's equal in measure. It's about what's equal in commitment. What destroys so many relationships today is selfishness. Too many people walk in thinking, what can I get? Instead of what can I give? And when it becomes one-sided, resentment sets in. But when both people commit to pouring into each other, something powerful happens. You don't just survive together, you grow together. You lift each other up. You become stronger because you know someone's got your back no matter what. That's the kind of connection every man is looking for. Even if he never says it out loud, a man doesn't just want love, he wants reciprocity. If he's out there sacrificing, he needs to know you see it and you're willing to sacrifice too. If he's loyal, he needs to know loyalty is coming back. If he's speaking life into you, he needs to feel life spoken back into him. That's how you build trust. That's how you build something that no outsider can break. Because when a man knows his efforts are being matched, he becomes unstoppable. And when a woman knows the same, her heart becomes unshakable. And let me say this to the men too. Don't you dare sit back and expect a woman to pour into you if you're not willing to pour into her. You can't demand respect if you're not giving it. You can't ask for loyalty if you're not living loyal. You can't expect her to touch your mind, heart, and soul if you're not doing the same in return. Real love is not about one person taking all the credit. It's about two people constantly reminding each other, I got you. That's the phrase that builds empires. When both partners give back equally, something beautiful happens. You both become each other's safe space. You become the place where the other person can lay down their guard. And do you know how rare that is in this world? To have one person you don't have to pretend with, one person you don't have to impress, one person you don't have to fight to be heard by. That's what makes relationships unbreakable. And it only happens when the giving is mutual. Now, I've seen couples who lost it all, money, homes, jobs, but they stayed together because the giving was equal. I've also seen couples with everything the world could envy, fancy cars, big houses, expensive vacations, but they fell apart because one person was always giving and the other was always taking. You can't build forever on imbalance. You can't call it love if it's only convenient for one person. Love is proven in the moments when you choose to give even when it's not easy. And here's the thing. When you give equally, it doesn't drain you. It actually fills you up because nothing feels better than knowing the energy you put into your partner is coming back your way. That's how joy is created. That's how passion stays alive. That's how respect grows stronger with time. Giving back isn't a chore. It's the fuel that keeps love alive. So when I tell you the fourth place a man wants you to touch, I'm saying he wants you to touch the relationship with equal effort. He wants to feel that you're as invested as he is, that you're as committed as he is, that you're as loyal as he is. And when that balance is there, the love becomes unshakable, because at the end of the day, love is not about me. It's about us. And when both people understand that you've built something that can stand the test of time,